Welcome to the Purdue Global Academic Success Center's presentation on independent variables versus dependent variables. Let's begin by reviewing the definitions of the terms independent and dependent variables. Independent variables are those which do not depend on another variable. Independent variables are often what is being manipulated by experimenters or something that cannot be changed, such as someone's age. Dependent variables are those which do depend on another variable, the independent variable, and they're often what is being measured by the experimenters. Here's an example. A study is conducted with an experimental group and a control group to determine the impact of a vegetarian diet on obese patients' sleep quality. The experimental group was composed of 15 overweight adults who consumed a vegetarian diet for 3 months, and the control group was composed of 15 overweight adults who consumed their typical diet. Both groups completed questionnaires each morning, assessing their sleep quality the night before. At the end of the 3-month period, researchers determined that a vegetarian diet was associated with improved sleep quality in obese patients, in comparison to the control group. What are the independent and dependent variables in this study? The independent variable of this study is the patient's diet. This is because the independent variable is manipulated by researchers in order to determine the effects of such change. The dependent variable of the study is the patient's sleep quality, as determined by the questionnaires. Researchers wanted to determine the effect of the patient's diet, the independent variable, on sleep quality, the dependent variable. Let's try some practice questions. 1. A researcher wants to design an experiment to determine whether or not a certain bacteria can grow without oxygen. What would the independent variable and dependent variable be? Take a moment to pause the video and think about it. The answers are that the independent variable is the presence of oxygen, and the dependent variable is bacterial growth. 2. A researcher wants to design an experiment to determine which of 3 different medications is most effective at treating a skin condition, measured by decreased skin redness and patient-reported discomfort. What would the independent variable and dependent variable be? Take a moment to pause the video and think about it. The answer is that the independent variable is the type of medication, and the dependent variable is the skin redness and patient discomfort. 3. A researcher wants to determine which amount of a drug is most effective at reducing tumor size. She administers a low dose, medium dose, high dose, and no dose of the medication in mice with tumors. What would be the independent variables and dependent variables? Take a moment to pause the video and think about it. The answer is that the independent variable is the amount of drug administered, and the dependent variable is the mouse's tumor size. 4. A study was conducted that determined that daily hibiscus tea consumption decreased blood pressure and improved sleep quality in comparison to a control group which consumed a placebo. What were the independent variables and dependent variables? Take a moment to pause the video and think about it. The answer is that the independent variable is the hibiscus tea or placebo consumption, and the dependent variable is the blood pressure and sleep quality. 5. A study determined that a certain bacteria grows quickest in a medium with glucose and under light, slowest without glucose and in the dark, and in between for conditions with either glucose or light. What were the independent variables and dependent variables? Take a moment to pause the video and think about it. The answer is that the independent variables are the glucose presence and light presence, and the dependent variable is the speed of bacterial growth. Thanks for watching.